Hello, friends. Welcome to Story Behind Podcast. This is the show for people who love hearing a good story and who believe the world could use more positivity. We're the team behind GodUpdates and God2, and we hope these weekly short stories will brighten your day.
Scrawny dog left at shelter with a heartbreaking note saying she deserves a better life. Written by Heather Riggleman, read by Adam Staten. A scrawny dog left at the shelter with a heartbreaking note saying she deserves a better life. Imagine finding a dog trapped in a cage for months on end, unable to stand up and left with no food or water. That's what happened to a Texas dog named Fruit Punch. An angel rescued her from the horrors she faced and left her at a shelter with a note that read, "She is very sweet and deserves a better life." Staff at the rescue shelter were horrified when Fruit Punch arrived. The dog left at the shelter was nothing more than a furry bag of bones covered in sores. When she tried to stand on her own, she would tremble out of weakness. But what the staff didn't realize is that Fruit Punch understood her purpose in life. She knew she was meant to give love, affection, loyalty, and companionship. Somehow, Fruit Punch knew she just had to hang on a little longer so she could love and be loved in return. Animals like Fruit Punch are dropped off at the shelters in her condition, and staff fear they are so far gone there is no hope of rehabilitation. But Fruit Punch had some extra pawsome abilities in the realm of forgiveness and resilience. She knew not all humans were bad, and decided anything is possible at this point in life. The staff felt the same way about her and posted a plea on Facebook that read, "A little chihuahua named Fruit Punch was left at the shelter with a heartbreaking note. The 2-year-old pup was brought to APA on Wednesday, covered in pressure sores and urine. Shelter staff said Fruit Punch was so weak and skinny she could barely stand without trembling. Then something extraordinary happened. Fruit Punch begins to heal, and slowly the spark for life comes back into her eyes. The scrawny dog left at the shelter begins to eat solid food, and she's gained enough strength to stand on her own. This precious little pooch went from facing certain death to having a second chance at life. A second chance filled with love, attention, toys, and a forever family to love. While she still has a long road ahead of her, we all know one thing is certain. Fruit Punch knows what it means to have hope and perseverance. We can't wait for her to be adopted, and we pray God continues to keep animal rescue shelters operational until every creature finds a loving home. An upright man has thought for the life of his beast, but the hearts of evildoers are cruel. Proverbs 12:10.
Need a new roof for your home? Or even just some repairs? That's a big investment, one that you should take very seriously. And you want the job done right, by professionals, and at a great price. You need to call your hometown roofing contractor, serving Northeast Ohio for over 65 years. Coates Bros Roofing, 440-322-1343. How have they been in the roofing business for so long? Quality work at a great price. They keep their promises and communicate with you, the homeowner. Coates Bros Roofing will listen to you and find solutions that will accommodate your roofing needs. They'll give you a better than competitive price on your roofing job and make sure that it fits within your budget. Financing is available too. The highest quality at a great price. Coates Bros Roofing. Call 440-322-1343 or go to CoatesBrosRoofing.com. That's COATES. CoatesBrosRoofing.com.
The Historical Jesus Podcast is the sweeping saga of the life and times of Galilean Jesus of Nazareth, as well as the faith, religion, and church founded to honor and disseminate his acts and teachings. Join me, Mark Vinette, on this fascinating journey through time, exploring the many great works of Christian theology, literature, architecture, music, and art inspired by the words and deeds of Jesus Christ.
Desperate mom uses ChatGPT to check son's symptoms and finally gets a diagnosis. Written by Adam Staten, read by Adam Staten. One mother, after taking her child to nearly 20 doctors over a 3-year period, finally received a diagnosis for what was ailing her son from artificial intelligence. Parents want nothing more than to see their children be happy and healthy. Whenever anything happens that causes a disruption to a children's happiness or physical or mental well-being, parents become upset and anxious. At that point, parents want a solution to the problem and will seemingly do anything and everything in their power to find one. Whenever those highly desired answers don't come or the proposed solution doesn't solve the problem, it can lead to anger and frustration. This is a reality that Courtney and her son Alex, who was 4 years old at the time, know all too well. One outlet reports that during the COVID-19 lockdowns, Courtney was first alerted to the possible problem with Alex. Alex began having these daily, massive meltdowns, but they weren't like any other fits or tantrums children so often throw. Courtney's nanny would give the child aspirin, which seemed to relieve the child's pain. However, without the Motrin, Alex would throw a fit. It was also during this time, Today reports, that Alex started chewing objects. The child was obviously in pain. So like any good and caring parent, Courtney began taking her child to try and learn what was causing her child to suffer. This began a long cycle of doctor's appointments. They took him to the dentist, who referred them to an orthodontist. They also saw a pediatrician when they noticed Alex had stopped growing. The pediatrician suggested Alex see a physical therapist because of perceived imbalances. We saw so many doctors. We ended up at the ER at one point. I kept pushing, Courtney said. I really spent the night on the computer, going through all these things. She also mentioned that despite all the doctor's appointments, they could never get a diagnosis. Nobody's willing to solve for the greater problem, she said. Nobody will even give you a clue about what the diagnosis could be. It was during her online research that Courtney came across ChatGPT. The concerned mom then entered all the symptoms and information into the artificial intelligence mechanism. She finally received a diagnosis. ChatGPT responded with tethered spinal cord syndrome. Tethered spinal cord syndrome, described by the American Association of Neurological Surgeons, is a neurologic disorder caused by tissue attachments that limit the movement of the spinal cord within the spinal column. Finally having a diagnosis and an idea of what was causing Alex's pain gave Courtney a tremendous feeling of relief. Today reports that Alex has since undergone surgery to correct the issue. He was reportedly still recovering. Have no fear, for I am with you. Do not be looking about in trouble, for I'm your God. I will give you strength. Yes, I will be your helper. Yes, my true right hand will be your support. Isaiah 41:10.
Thank you so much for listening to Story Behind Podcast. We're really glad you joined us for this week's story. To see photos and videos that may have been referenced in this episode, check out the links in the show notes. And if you enjoyed what you heard today, subscribe to our podcast, and please tell a friend about us. We'd also love it if you'd rate us and leave us a review. It really does help more people find us. Story Behind is a Salem Web Network production.
And one by one, I watched my dear friends get engaged, get married, start having children. And especially as a woman, I felt like there was a certain timeline that these things needed to happen in my life.
Charity Gale shares a personal testimony on The Walk, a podcast for worshipers. Join us weekly to hear songwriters, worship leaders, filmmakers, and other creatives tell their stories in the form of a devotional. The Walk can be found on lifeaudio.com or your favorite podcast platform.